As expected. Now, of course, I'm not going to tout myself too much. This is, I think, an easy choice, and I was paying attention to some of the comms, but we are going to Cracked. So, again, the way this worked, our priority team, which is going to be Team Bravo, who did a better job in those 2 games, they chose to select side. So we go to the other team, and they say, well, we're probably going to select defense. Where do we think we can attack the best from? We think it's Cracked. We're going Cracked. Let's see what they decide to choose. We go back to a priority team, and they say, it's on Cracked. Do we think attack has an advantage? I don't know. We're going to go defense. That's where we're most comfortable. Let's play on the defensive side on Team Bravo. And so we're going to see Team Bravo, who, again, held Team Alpha to point A on Trainwreck, play defense on Cracked. Tiff, what do you think of this decision? Are you feeling good about it? Are you nervous for Team Bravo? Do you think they're still going to win?
No, okay, look, I'm not going to take sides in any way, shape, or form, but I think if Team Bravo is immediately choosing defense, they're going to feel confident no matter what. Now, granted, if they would have gotten a map like Ascension, they would have felt 100,000 times more confident. Of course, if you're Team Alpha, you are not picking that map in any way, shape, or form. And picking Cracked, one of the maps that has been out in Delta Force since the very beginning, you're going to feel more confident on it because you've had more time in it. You can kind of coordinate your efforts between the initial rosters. And as we dive into our final game here of Europe Warfare in the Delta Force Global League Season 2, it's the respawn beacons already getting down, and it's going to be NSD Alcatraz trying to open things up.
And immediately, again, this map is quite a bit shorter than the rest of them, but because of that, point A sometimes is a little difficult to take. And we thought Trainwreck was going to be an easy point to take for the attackers. It ended up being stifled there immediately, so we'll see what happens this time around. Cracked, obviously, the OG of all OG maps. This is the original map from the original Delta Force Reimagined. It's been in the game since the very beginning, in the alpha and the open betas, and all the way to now. A fun map, a hotly contested map. A lot of debate around this map, but a fun one regardless. And the attack is already swung up onto A and getting a ton of value on the point. The defense has done what they usually do, which is scatter around the point, trying to play these flanks and weed numbers down to a point where they can take points easily. But in the process of doing that, they've left open the actual point itself to almost all of the attack who are on the point and getting a decent value out of it.
Oh, all right. Meet your memers. Here we are. 2 Stingers, a Luna, a Hackclaw. You're feeling confident. You were asking about the operators. And look, if you're going to be looking to hit that offense heavy, right? Just get in there. Get those angles. You can see we're already taking rooftops. We're feeling super confident, but it's Volkswagen on the ground. Zerf and Skya they are going to be here looking to preserve lives if they can. The QCQ in hand and just pulling out the utility. I like our angles here, but A may convert here shortly.
Yeah, this is exactly why they chose the attack here. Or sorry, this is exactly why they chose Cracked, rather. They didn't choose the attack. Team Alpha.
They ended that way.
They said, we hope when we pick Cracked, they go defense. We feel more comfortable on the attack. And they're right. They were able to capture point A very quickly. They weren't able... I've been harping on this, but it's a really important note. They weren't able to attack and capture point A on Trainwreck at all. They lost on the very first point. They've already done better than that this time around. But unfortunately, doesn't matter how far you get. It's about who wins. The defense wins this. They win the tournament. The attack wins this. They win the tournament. It's 1-1. This is game 3. Everything is on the line.
Back to the overview here. You can look towards the setup, especially towards that temporary command area. And you've got the players that are lining the back and obviously the front, but tech that angle across the road to be able to kind of just put that pressure down. However, when it comes to these hills, they definitely have eyes. You do have some engineers with their launchers and some initial close range 1v1s. You've got to win your ones, especially out there, but it's going to be Serial Killer in the vehicle from very far behind. And I do like it as we get geared up for battle.
And again, much better job this time. Serial Killer is kind of playing on the backside. It was Westa that was driving the vehicles a little bit more into the mix, playing a high-risk play. It usually can work, especially in pubs. In coordinated efforts like this, not as much. So this time they're playing a little bit more patient. It's working for them. They're getting a little value here on B1. This is going to be the classic tug of war that we talk about all the time, where you got to try to pressure one point, make the defense hold the other, and then try to swarm, make a momentum play for the second point, and hope you don't give up the point you left. Usually it's done by leaving a vehicle on the point you originally capped. B1, the much easier point to take in Cracked. It's a lot more open, a lot more room to work. But the defense is not going to give it up 100% easily. They're going to still make a play for this. I don't know if this is a mistake necessarily, but it looks like the defense is completely losing B1 and losing a lot of lives in the process, which is opening up this flank for B2. Potentially try to take both of these nearly at the same time. You can already see B2 starting to tick down.
Kind of challenging, right? If you're Team Bravo and you're like immediately locking in the defense, this is the risk because you don't get to pick the map that you're going to feel the most comfortable on, but you're assuming that you can hold no matter what. So knowing that where B1 is about to fall, B2 is going to have to be that focus, but recapping B1 for the defense will need to be important. Caspian here, as soon as he peeks in, falls, but we keep on filtering through to see what Vazia is up to. M7 in hand, hits the nice reload, but it's the open terrain that we're looking to cut people down in. However, the influx of the opposing side is just too much to deal with.
Look for a big.
One more on me. Wait. You see the big...
Got some commander comms leaking through there. And again, Victory Unite here. The commanders are able to talk to all the squad leaders and issue commands. You can hear a little bit of that coming through as we swap perspectives around. But the free cam showed it to obviously the attack moving. They're I think they've just found their footing. This is a completely different team than what we witnessed in the very first game. Stabilized, taken point B1, now pushing for B2. Now, obviously, the defense going to strike back with a tank of their own. Vehicle is going to be a huge play here, but vehicle spawn's a bit different, obviously, than Trainwreck. Cracked. A whole different beast. If you haven't played this map in a while, you got to remember how difficult it can be on either side. A very swingy, momentum-based map. I think a lot of our pubs players struggle to capture points on this map. But in coordinated esports, it's definitely easier. We've seen a lot of really cool moments on this map with tanks climbing walls, shooting down into B2. You might see that here in a little bit. But a stalemate between B1 and B2. Plenty of lives, though. This is not even close to being over. Got 136 still on the map. A lot of room to work.
Yo, I don't know how we didn't get taken down there. We get out with our lives. You've got the friendly Toxic that's going to help with some of her utility here to maintain our presence. We take some damage. We initially filter on, but we go through the door, and that's when you get ripped to shreds. And it just seems like all that chaos is happening here. We'll kind of zoom on out, get a good look at B1. As you can see, you got Meteor Memers that are kind of uniting around to push out that presence. That's going to be Team Alpha. They're the ones that chose Cracked. They're feeling confident on this map. They're best coordinated effort to turn this into a Europe Warfare win here in Season 2.
Very strong right now. They're even getting value on B2, even though a majority of the team was on B1. A nice opening push is going to be the signal flare for everybody else to storm across this wide open space. This is really where you need a lot of smokes to cover this distance, but also some vehicles to open things up. Now, C1 and C2, honestly, pretty difficult as well. But I would argue usually teams that are able to make it to B2 and take both of these points usually are able to make C1 and C2 as long as they have a decent amount of lives. So I think our metric of success here for the attackers, obviously, they've got to win the map. But the success to go into the second point, you need to just make sure that you've got over 100 lives for C1 and C2, and I think they've got a decent chance of taking the whole thing. A large responsibility, but so far so good. Here's the attack. They're trying to play around. This is that kind of quadrant, that quad I was talking about earlier. You can drive a tank over some of these walls and shoot down into it if you want to. Obviously risk losing that vehicle playing that aggressive, but...
Ooh, okay, Alcatraz. Kind of filtering through. Now, I love what you're saying there, but the moment I think about it, when we go on to see if we get that far here for the attacking side, it's going to be difficult because a lot of the vehicles are going to make a better use when it comes to those sector objectives. But back towards B2, filtering in, you can see the vehicle you were talking about kind of nestling into the slums itself, and Zerf is going to pop on out, find some cover. Into the vehicle we go. Once you have all of that pressure, it's like, hey, preserve the vehicle's health, try to keep it alive for the time being. But Serial Killer, no longer in a vehicle, wants to get Mixie inside the house and looks for one but misses, hits the flip. But I'm telling you, some of those close range combats, if you're not kind of pre-firing through the doors, there's a good chance you're not going to make it out.
The attack is crushing it right now. They're getting B1. They're about to get B2. I mean, look at it. You can see with the X-ray how many red bodies are on that point.
One B1.
Opening fire!
really well executed from the attack right now, and the momentum is absolutely on their side. I think our defense is starting to sweat because they're going to have to give up this point most likely and force it to C. The problem is, again, metric of success. We need over 100 lives going into C1 and C2, and they're easily going to have over 100. It can be a tall task for the defense. What we thought was going to be maybe a defensive victory early, all of a sudden turns into absolutely dominating for the team that lost priority selection. They lost the tiebreaker, almost lost the tournament in game 2, and all of a sudden they've got momentum. Defense is absolutely scrambling.
Hey, look, I'd be scrambling too, especially when you think about what that looked like for Team Bravo on game number 1 for Trainwreck. Their defense was absolutely stellar, but like you said, Team Alpha looking completely different. It's like they woken, right? They just knew that they had to lock it in, and they have done everything out. Hey, maybe that litmus test was game number 1, and they're like, I feel confident now. I don't even care. Give us all the reinforcements. Give us all the pressure. 146 tickets, right? They're only missing about 34 now as we move on to the sector objectives for C.
Now here we go. C1 and C2. Obviously, you have the hangar on the left-hand side, C1, that is an interesting point. Technically, you can blow it to smithereens with enough guided missiles. I'm not sure if we're going to have enough support systems for that, but it is possible. Quick look here at some of the vehicles being spawned in. This is where you're going to see more vehicles spawned, more supports called. Big moments for some of our commanders, earn a ton of value for their team with some of the issued orders they can send out. We had one on the attacking side for B2, and I think they were able to execute on that, so they should have a sizable amount of support here from the attacking side, and immediately they are swarming C1 and getting a ton of value on it.
Yeah, I mean, of course, but that angle, you get ripped. Silly Kitty trying to be like, all right, it's fine. I've got my launcher in the back pocket. I want to make sure we're taking down the vehicles as they come on in, not getting shredded for ourselves, but moving on over towards this area. You were talking about it. C1, military supply stash. C2, office area. Good look at where we can see this building. This building will get broken down inevitably if that offense wants to make sure that they can completely shred it. You saw that vehicle kind of moving in towards the road, but I think this is a good focus point for their initial attack. You can see everyone kind of on that catwalk, just nestling into the smoke, trying to rip people out of the building as they filter through there. Nice thermal to kind of help through those smokes, and look, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah, it's the right play. Again, something that you see in Cracked all the time. If you've played pubs, you've seen it, and even at the high level, you see it. A ton of smokes. You need smokes on that just about every map, but Cracked even more so than other maps. You see a lot of stingers, likely some Lunas. We need smoke grenades, and we need to be able to see through smokes. You're gonna see Recon Arrows probably playing a massive, getting a lot of value rather for your team, so you're able to play for these. You can see 2 Lunas on this team. Onto this point, immediately taking down almost everybody on the defensive side. C1 is nearly entirely swarmed by the attack, and this is a very well-coordinated push from the attack yet again, as they have found not only their momentum, but their stride in playing as an entire team of 20.
Okay, Zen, I see you. Love kind of the angles of keeping your eyes on those windows, and little DJ, out the door we go. Kind of working alongside the team, hanging out in the smokes. Get that information from the commander for that team, and on board we go. Turbo Supercharge. Still trying to hang on here. They've gotten a good chunk of those tickets down, mind you. They were situated closer into the 140s. They've lost about 35. However, the progress is about halfway.
Yeah, and here the tug of war has started. C1 entirely captured by the attack. They've got complete control over this point. And now it's about cutting through a couple of these numbers to open things up for the push for C2. I don't think it has to be very quick. They don't have to force this. I think that'll be a mistake. The best teams on Cracked usually take the first point and slow it down, get all together, and then make a coordinated push for C2. Usually can overwhelm the numbers. We're seeing a lot of hero plays from a couple individuals, and obviously a ton of vehicle value for the attacking side this time around. They're actually winning these vehicle fights. The tank destroyer trying to stay alive. And I don't think they're going to do it. Wow, John the Bomb cut down.
Yeah, I mean, look, he was trying to navigate the vehicle through the alleyways, and Yellow Love waiting with open arms saying, hello, my beloved. Welcome back.
Yeah, they need it. Look at this. C2 being retake. Now, again, coordinated push, sure, from the attack. They are losing C1, so a great counterattack from the defense. to keep their dreams alive. It's just about who wins the map. It doesn't have to be pretty. It could go down to the final moments, just like the last one. Yellow Love immediately onto C2, saying, nobody's taking this, not in my face.
Copy.
And they've got a transport vehicle and they've got an IFV on point C2, and they've completely wiped out all of the attackers on C2, completely retaking. Very well executed from Yellow Love to get into the mix and at least just give a little bit of reprieve, draw the fire of some of the infantry so that their ground troops on the defense could retake.
Well, back on here we go. I mean, look, if you're going to clear out C2, you've got to get that done. Focus on over to C1. But if I'm Valbatrow and co, I want to make sure on Team Alpha that we are getting our reinforcements back on in. And look at where Turbo Supercharge has moved in from Meet Your Memers, right? Might as well just nestle ourselves deep into C1. Say, nah, you're not getting this. Especially once you see them clear out C2, you know their next matter is going to be making this rotation over to C1. So kind of overextending on out is going to be great. You can rip people out of this road because that's going to be where they're super exposed.
A true stalemate, or it looks like one. Defense getting pretty aggressive here. This is a very risky play, but it's paying off for them for the most part. John the Bomb able to stay alive for a moment, but in a fight, hopefully with some help of his other vehicle. Now it's a 2v1 vehicle warfare. If they're able to get this vehicle down and not lose one, it's going to be a huge boon, and they're able to do it. They lose one in the process. They trade one out. As long as they don't trade both out, no, he goes down. Both vehicles traded out for one. This could be an opening the attack needs if they can surmount a counterattack with the defense with no vehicles. Nobody having any vehicles now that we can see. That's honestly a good trade for the attack. As long as they're able to stabilize on C2, they can make a push for C1 rather. They can make a push for C2 here shortly.
Copy. Vehicle drop.
Oh, that's going to be so tough, but more vehicles coming in. It's like those reinforcements. You can see the pressure. You see the explosions, and they're denying it straight up. Here we go. Look, we're down to the wire when it comes to this, but look who also wants to get their hand on a new vehicle down on the back lines. It looks like that one's actually going to get wheels on the ground, but we're going to jump on here with Emberson, narrowly avoiding all of the pressure, kind of filtering back in through the side of things. Hey, preserve those tickets. Get your homies back up.
Such a good call out from you, Tiff. That was obviously a trade in vehicles we saw on broadcast, but then vehicles being called in and the trade being also won by the defense. That's a huge boon to have the only vehicle on the map. They use it correctly, they probably win the map because of that one trade. Whoever it was that shot down the vehicles for the attack that was spawning in, kudos to you. Very well executed. A classic strategy in esports, but if you can execute it correctly, absolutely turns the tide in your favor.
To it, you can see it. Look at that. We are just hitting the main roads, but this is when we're starting to return back to form, right? Especially if we're returning to cracked. Why not grab all of your OG operators that have been here since the dawn of time in Delta Force? You're going to feel really confident when it comes to just locking into the assault operators. It's going to be great when you need to make sure that you have to keep on barricading and forward and retake. But I like that we're going to nestle onto these corners. But as I say that, we leave ourselves just slightly exposed, and that is going to cost you everything.
Another vehicle spawning in for the attackers, and I think it looks like one of those. No, it gets taken out. There's the top of that tank gone. They are going to get the second vehicle in, so they will have at least one vehicle on the ground, and it looks like maybe another spawning. But a huge boon for the attackers to at least get one on the ground. They lose a second, though. And again, you know, as much as we tout the heroics of some of these individuals, it's some of the things that we don't see on screen that are hard to capture of those that are playing the engineers, shooting these vehicles down before they land. Those are the true heroes of this map. As we're down to 28 lives, this is a nail biter yet again on the last couple points. The last couple pushes, here we go. Attacker's tank getting into the mix. It is going to be one tank versus two on the other side, or two vehicles on the other side. Let's see how much value they're able to get out of it. Already extremely weak. The defense immediately targeting Westa here. And I think he's going to go down. That is a brutal loss for the attack. There goes all of their power.
Yeah, well, that was Silly Kitty making a big play that was definitely needed. That's going to be from Team Reborn on Team Bravo. Now, mind you, with 23 tickets left, we need a coordinated effort. They've been able to be just an absolute lockdown on C1, but C2 has been the problem child of the sector objective. So Foxana, Falls trying to make a push. Can Serial Killer, Valvetrow, Exenty, can they get close enough to make this happen for themselves?
Copy. Vehicle drop to destination.
19 lives, no power, vehicles on the side of the defense. Again, this is a tug of war, but it's really a push and pull between two teams. Both who have had their moments in the limelight. Looks like we're seeing some value for the attackers on C2. It looks like we've got a lot more green swinging over to C1 to try to maybe play a trade and tank holding C2. It doesn't look like this attack's going to be very fruitful from what we can see, unless there's this incredibly heroic effort here from this squad. Serial Killer going massive in the kill feed, but I just don't know how much value you're going to be able to find for the attackers. They're sneaking this. I mean, they've got bodies on point. But I don't know. I mean, they're seeing some value on C2 that we don't see. There's just a lot of green still on C1. I think it's going to be a trade.
I mean, if you're going to literally ghost ride a vehicle into C1, what do you expect? And as you turn your attention over to C2, that respawn beacon is going to be incredibly vital. And here come all of the missiles, making sure that they can push everyone out of the way. But it just delays the inevitable. Reborn, Team Bravo. I saw Silly Kitty get absolutely eviscerated. And just like that, you can see it here. Team Alpha are the champions.
Yeah, this was
Team Bravo.
Yeah, there it is.
Second. That net themselves wins in the Delta Force Global League. And I tip my hat to all the engineer players. I could not be that person, but you are the ones that are the backbones to your wins.
Yeah, that's absolutely the case. Engineers are the unsung heroes of the leaderboards. But yeah, here's a quick look at the overall score line. Obviously, pretty close across the board, again, because of the big rally back from Team Alpha in that last map, who put up such a great fight. But Team Bravo wins it all. They win 2 out of the 3 maps. We go to game 3. They have more scores. They have more kills as an overall team and just overall win it all. Even though it was a close one, Team Bravo are the superior team and have done it working together as a coordinated effort. Let's take a look at our pricing though and see who wins all of our individual rewards, because yes, Team Bravo wins $10,000. John the Bomb, 101 kills across the board, gonna be top slayer on the day. Very well done. It's Crazer, your top medic, and I think it was extremely close. I'd love to get a read on who else was there, because I think very, very close in the top medic category. John the Bomb, I think our top slayer, but a decent margin, especially with that 70 kill game I believe John the Bomb had. But Crazer does just barely eke out top medic with 125 rescues. Crazer really did a great job of making sure to prioritize that medic position, and obviously has a ton of value in that position for the team, keeping lives. And I am looking at it, by the way, it was John the Bomb at 101, Q-Pitch was second at 90, and M8 Skyart was third in the top slayer category at 87. And then on top medic side, Crazer 125, M8 Skyart second in that category at 101, with a couple other folks close. Zerf there technically third at 72. So overall, great team effort, but also some individual rewards. So congratulations, Team Bravo. You've all won $500, but John the Bomb, an extra 500, and Crazer, an extra 500. So huge congrats to all of our winners today.
I mean, that's some big wins right there. And I kind of love to see, like, you've got some members of Toxic Squad up in there.